Hi everyone. Google Sheets have hundreds of features, but among those, there are some that take your sheets to the next level, from a couple of connected tabs to a powerful and robust tool. Named ranges is one of those features. For me, learning to use named ranges and do it efficiently had the greatest impact on the quality of the sheets I was creating. In this video, we will look at what named ranges are, how to create them, their benefits and uses, advanced practices for choosing names and sizes for ranges, and finally, how they compare to tables, newer feature of Google Sheets. Along the way, we will also learn of several life hacks and hotkeys that save a lot of time. The idea of named ranges is very simple. They're just human-readable labels for other ranges in Sheets. Instead of using a cell reference in a formula directly, you will use the named range and the result will be the same. However, don't be deceived by this simplicity. Named ranges pack a bunch of powerful features if you know how to use them. There are two ways to create named ranges. First, we can use the Named Ranges panel. You can open this panel via the main menu, Data, Named Ranges, or by right-clicking on a cell, More Cell Actions, define a named range. On this panel, you can add a new range, see all the available named ranges, and edit or delete them. To name a range, select it and click Add a Range, then input a unique name. We will discuss why we chose this name later in the video. To edit or delete a range, hover over it and click the Edit button. The second way of creating a named range is much faster, saving a lot of time. We will use so-called name box. It is situated to the left of the formula area. To name a range, select it, activate the name box and type in the name. Name box also shows other ranges, which helps keeping consistent naming convention. More on that later. Finally, press Enter. You can also navigate between sheets and name ranges via this name box. To rename a range, select it, the name box will show the current name, type in the new one, then press Enter. Quick tip. You can activate the name box with a hotkey. Ctrl+J on Windows and Command+J on Mac. A couple of important points. If you rename a range, it will be updated everywhere. When you delete a range, it will be replaced with a reference error everywhere where it was used. There are a couple of exceptions to this rule, which we will look at in the next section. While named ranges are a simple concept, they have many benefits. First, formulas are easier to read and understand. Let's try to decipher what this formula does. It's impossible without checking the source data, which takes time and effort. Now, let's look at the same formula but with named ranges. It reads almost like a sentence. Sum totals of orders from the country in the cell B4 and with the sold date between B2 and B3. It took almost no time at all. Why is it important to have readable formulas, you may ask? Turns out we read formulas more often than write them, when we need to refresh what the formula does, debug or change it. Plus, it is much more efficient when several people work with the same spreadsheet, as they will have an easier time understanding the formulas. Named ranges are integrated into formulas autocomplete. We just need to start typing the name and select the appropriate range. The secret here is to use a good naming convention. We will discuss the best practices further in this video. Name ranges prevent one of the most common errors in spreadsheets: shifted ranges. Ranges in Google Sheets are relative by default. This means that when you copy or move a formula, the range will shift accordingly. Sometimes it is exactly what we need. In other cases, we need absolute ranges, also known as fixed or pinned, which will not shift. Forgetting to pin a range and then copy formulas is the source of endless errors and grief. This kind of error is especially dangerous, as it is difficult to catch. Usually, there are no error messages and it can hide for very long, making your calculations incorrect. Name ranges are absolute by their nature, eliminating this kind of error. Another common mistake is accidentally using the wrong range. Let's look at this formula. It looks correct. However, if we check the range, which we can do by putting the edit cursor over it and pressing F2, we will notice that the range is not complete. It will not happen with named ranges. The name range either exists or not. You will see an error immediately if it doesn't. Of course, you can make a mistake in the named range itself, but it is only one place to check where you can easily fix it. In most cases, when you change a range, for example add, remove columns, rows, all formulas that refer to this range will automatically update. However, there are several exceptions when you have to use a range as text in quotes instead of regular reference. These ranges will not update. Name ranges allow you to overcome this limitation. First, the import range function. It imports data from another sheet. For simplicity, we will import the data from the same sheet. Now, let's add a status column to the data. If you use regular references, you will have to edit the range in import range function to include more columns. Imagine that you have to do it in many documents. If you use a named range, they can sometimes change on their own, or you will just need to change it in the source sheet, and it will work automatically in all other places. The second function that accepts range as a text is indirect. It returns values from the provided range. It is useful when the range is not known beforehand, can be changed dynamically by the user, or you cannot refer to the range directly. As you can see, the range automatically updated after we changed the source. Finally, when you use conditional formatting with custom formulas, you cannot directly refer to a range on a different sheet. You have to use indirect function for that. Here we are highlighting orders with totals above a certain value. To have an easier time managing this value in the future, we moved it to a separate settings sheet and created a named range. So this conditional formatting formula is very readable and easy to change, compared to the second formatting without a named range. Using named ranges in these formulas effectively removes their limitations and makes the ranges dynamic again. The only drawback of using named ranges in these functions is that you pass the name as text and it will not update if you decide to rename a range. Imagine you need to add rows to a range or switch to a different dataset altogether. If you use regular ranges like here, you need to either edit it in each and every formula, or strategically insert rows and columns so the range automatically extends everywhere, which is not always possible. If you miss some rows, the result will be correct. Here we have our original dataset that we started with. Now let's try switching the formulas to the new dataset by just changing several named ranges. After that, the formulas will work as expected. To make the most out of named ranges, we need to be purposeful about two things: their name and size. Giving names to named ranges seems simple enough. However, if you use many named ranges, it might get confusing. So you need to be systematic about it. First, you need to choose how you will write the names, starting with capital letters or not, and what the separator between the words would be. These are several most common options which come from software development. Here, the first letter of each word is capitalized. The first letter can also be capitalized. It is so-called camel case. Here, all the letters are lowercase with underscores between the words, so-called snake case. This is a variant of the snake case using two underscores to separate logical parts of the name, for example dataset and column. And finally, another variation on snake case, so-called screaming snake case. You can use the one you like. The key is being consistent. Personally, I'm on the modified snake case team, as it is the most readable. Leave a comment which one you prefer. Second, use hierarchical names from top to bottom. First, the name of the sheet or dataset, then the column you need. This way, you will get the most from the autocomplete. And it doesn't have to be based around datasets. I often move constants to the Settings tab and create named ranges for easier access. Third, in complex cases, add some details to the name. For example, you might need to specify that the range doesn't include a header. It is sometimes needed when you use ranges for both dropdowns and calculations due to limitations of the named range's sizing that we will look at in the next section. Or you can separately indicate that this is an export named range used in other sheets to import data using import range that we have seen earlier. The second part of the named ranges equation is the size of the range. Google Sheets support three types of ranges. Regular closed ranges, when you set all the boundaries of the range, both rows and columns. Open ranges, when you specify only a column or row, and the range will always include all the columns and rows even after you add new ones. Mixed, one part is closed and another is open. In name ranges, you can use only the first two. If you try to give a name to a mixed range, it will be converted to a closed one. Having this in mind, follow these two simple rules to choose an optimal size for a name range. Use open ranges for raw data. For raw data using formulas, open ranges work best. They expand as data grows, eliminating the risk that you will miss some of the data. In addition, when using multiple open ranges on a single sheet, they will always be of the same size, which is crucial for filter, sum ifs, and similar formulas. If the range contains a header, be careful counting values, as the number can sometimes be increased by 1. Use closed ranges for configuration and drop-down values. Closed ranges will work fine when you do not want the header to be included, for example, referring to settings or drop-down values. Just remember to leave enough empty space from the very beginning for potential future additions, and mark the border. If you must use ranges for data that is expected to grow, estimate the rate of data growth and leave sufficient space for at least 30 to 60 days. Then set a regular reminder to check and extend the range to prevent inaccuracies and missing data. Till May 2024, this video would have ended here. However, at that time Google Sheets got a new feature called Tables, which includes functionality very similar to named ranges. Let's compare them side by side. In one, we set up several name ranges, in another, we converted data to a table. This table has automatically set up pseudo-named ranges, with the name consisting of the table name, followed by a column name in square brackets. In short, these table ranges are very similar to regular name ranges, with the main differences being that most of them do not include the header row, and they do not work with import range and indirect functions, and consequently in conditional formatting. So in many cases you can use them interchangeably, provided you're not impacted by the table's limitations. If you want to dig deeper into tables, their features and limitations, you can watch this video.